So what I would do typically is I would figure out what cameras I want to use, what lighting I'm going to take. I'd lay out every single piece of gear I'm going to use, and I set up all the lights, because if you're missing one little cable, you're screwed in the field. It took me years to learn how to use all this stuff really, really well. But the iPhone didn't have a manual. I wanted to be a photojournalist. I had a little Nikon film camera. The first photograph I ever had published was in Now magazine in Toronto. I didn't know anybody. And then finally, a guy just said, well, if you want to be a news photographer, you have to go where there's news. And 3 weeks later, I was living in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, surrounded by working journalists. What drew me to it was the sense that witnessing could change things. And I could somehow be a part of that. A lot of my work has focused on communities and groups of people. It's about going out and meet. I mean, I'm a person photographer. When digital came out and I went to Iraq, I had to use digital. I had to buy a laptop computer in order to compete, in order to work as a foreign correspondent for that particular conflict. I think there's a sense of photography as just running around taking snapshots. It's much harder to do than I think people realize. You have to be curious enough that you're willing to risk your life to go look at it. It's about being part of a process and an engagement. It's not enough to witness. You need to be engaged with it, and then you need to do something with it. I got a call from a friend of mine. I was given this opportunity to go to Afghanistan and work on this social media experiment where they would document the military using smartphones and social media. I thought, I need to learn how to use an iPhone. I may as well go to Afghanistan to do it. You know, I'd never used a smartphone in my life and never thought I'd have a need to, but I could see enough into the future to realize that if I wanted to be part of the future and if I wanted to continue as a photographer or in this world, that I should learn how to use these tools. I'm a very technical person, and I carry digital versions of my manuals on my computer. The iPhone didn't have a manual. And I was asking friends on Facebook, you know, how do you use an iPhone? As soon as I got there, I started shooting on the smartphone, and I was still trying to figure out, why am I using a smartphone? What is the story? When I came back from Afghanistan, I asked myself, what the hell was I doing there? I know nothing about Afghanistan. What did I do to help anybody? And I don't know if I'd ever felt that so strongly about any trip I'd ever been on. And I think largely because I was shooting on an iPhone and uploading to social media. As a journalist, part of how we deal with things is built into that process of writing and thinking and researching and looking at the images over and over again. I was depressed, I think, before I came home. I didn't leave the house for about 2 months or so. I had a smartphone full of photographs that I'd uploaded to social media, and I didn't know what it had all been for. In a way, I felt like I'd risked my life for nothing. I didn't want to look at the pictures. I didn't want to do anything with it. I mean, you know, being depressed, you can't really find meaning in anything. A friend of mine called me up and said, "You have to get out of the house. It's a beautiful day." There was a lecture at the University of Toronto about photography and Marshall McLuhan, who invented media studies and most famously said, "The medium is the message." There was something in that talk that resonated in me, connecting McLuhan's ideas to the smartphone for the first time. And a light bulb went off, and it was like in a moment, I could see some kind of way out of the darkness through a story. I came home, I spent 3 years writing a book about it. I wanted to make a book while we were still making books, this physical object you can hold in your hands. Bob Carney, this master printer who I've known for more than 20 years, saw the pictures in the book. So he proposed we print the images out of my iPhone using palladium metal with applied tricolor gum bichromate. These photos will last 1,000 years. I look at this stuff, something happens to me, like when I got on the plane, for instance, and I think, wow, I spent all this time prepping. But really, really what I'm thinking about is I have this camera and there's nothing in it. It's like the blank piece of paper. And then you set out and one picture at a time, it starts. One picture at a time.